What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone we got Garrett from the Almighty Foes. Thank you for your time today, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, of course, man. It's great to have you call in.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. So the new album, American Violence, I gotta say, was just phenomenal. Like, it really just, I loved the violence in it, no pun intended. Do you just want to tell me, like, what the thought process was and how the making of this album was and everything like that?
Yeah, like, everything kind of came together post, like, music recording and everything for ideas and everything, like, theme-wise. But recording, we just kind of DIY'd it. Like, we've DIY'd this whole recording, like, American Violence, and we have another set of songs that kind of went along in the same, like, time frame. They've all been done and recorded at least 3 times.
Wow.
And then American Violence is basically half of the songs that we have ready.
Wow, that's impressive. Like, was there kind of like a preconceived idea on how you wanted this to sound? Obviously, there's a huge amount of hardcore influence and everything like that. Was there like an idea of how you wanted it to sound, or was there kind of like a lot of improvising involved?
It's a lot of improvising, actually. Like, Sonny, the guitar player, and I mainly get together in our jam space and just kind of write on the fly, just what feels really good. I mean, don't worry about bringing too much to the table. Usually he'll bring in a riff or two, and then we'll just build off of one.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to like, like the concept behind it, I'm like, is there ever a time where maybe like a lyrical concept or ideas could also influence the outcome of the music itself?
Well, it hasn't happened yet, because all the music is usually done far before, like, the lyrical ideas are put into play.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, but I think it's an idea that we're going to be exploring in the future. Since we have a better setup for recording, we can do things like on the fly and have those ideas set.
Which is awesome. And like, I'd imagine when, there's obviously people are going to interpret this to have sort of like a political context behind it, but do you also feel that maybe this album could be open to interpretation?
I do, and that's kind of like how we wanted it to be. It does have like some overtones of political stuff here and there, but we're not really a political band. We just are loud about the things that we are passionate about.
Yeah, and which I think is awesome. And like, would you consider yourselves? I've heard a lot of people referring to this album as hardcore. Would you consider yourselves hardcore in a way?
I would categorize it as like chaotic hardcore, but we like to take influence from all sorts of different heavy types of music, from like mathcore to grind, power violence, and death metal. And we all listen to so much of that stuff that it's impossible not to bring it in. Yeah. That was like the original idea behind Foes, was to simplify down the things that we wanted to do and distill it, and then use our favorite parts from every song and only use the heaviest parts.
Well, I've noticed, like, because the record is so consistent, a track like, if somebody likes Eden Burning, they'll appreciate Illusions of Faith. If they like Dollar Sign Eyes, they'll like, The Wolves Can Read or something like that. So, being that the record was so consistent, did, like, the making of each song get a little bit easier as you developed a formula?
Yeah, I'd say it just kind of, like, started flowing after, I think it's Devolved into Humanity was actually the first song we wrote for this entire set of songs. And then it just kind of, everything like poured after that, 'cause that was one of the harder tracks, and it still is like one of the harder tracks to play. But everything just kind of flowed after that.
Yeah. Well, being that the songs are so quick, at what point, how do you know that a song is done?
That's the hardest part, I think. I think it's the hardest part for anybody who's an artist, to just be done with something. And we don't want to keep it going too long. We don't like to play riffs more than, once or twice. And then we don't go back to them, usually.
Mm-hmm.
You just it's how we view the world, is just like keep moving forward. There's the only path through it is, actually going head first into the problem and fixing it. And then when it's done, you just kind of have to abandon it and move to the next one.
Yeah, well, kind of going back to the whole topic of hardcore, to you, what do you think makes something hardcore? Do you think it's like the lyrical concept behind it? Do you think it's the style of music? Do you think it's a lifestyle? I feel like hardcore, the definition of it is so subjective.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like the feel of it. It feels hardcore to me, even though there's metal and grind and like all different types of things in it. It has like a vibe of hardcore because it feels raw, fast, and all those things that are hardcore, but also so much more.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to playing this material live, is there maybe a similar energy that you channel into your live presence as you do when you're songwriting and recording, or is it a completely separate art altogether?
I do view it as like two different things. Being in the studio kind of lets us take our time and really explore different avenues of where we want each song to go. And then live, it's kind of like mostly solid. I like to do a little bit of improvising when we play, just because I just feel it. That's how when I recorded it. I'm not like a learned drummer by any means. I've got like a bit of a background in music, but I was a guitar player. So it's different. I just like feel it when it's live. Whatever happens kind of just comes out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a drummer, do you need music before you lay down the rhythm and the beat, or do you sometimes have a whole drum pattern written down and the rest of the band can ride over that?
When we record, I typically record all the drums raw to a click with no guitars, because it messes me up. I can visualize it all in my head, and then everything comes after that. It's all worked out, and it's at least, like I said, been recorded 3 times at least.
Yeah. And capturing a moment with the music, which I feel like this record really did, do you find it maybe like the harder, the longer you work on something, the harder it is to maintain that moment?
Yes. I get like frustrated if I can't dial it in. We'll do like 4 to 5 hour sessions, and for the drums it took like 2 weeks, but we were down there probably 6 times to get. We recorded all of American Violence, plus we actually have another half of a record, like another EP sitting. We record all the drums at once.
Wow.
So it's only half done, but when we went in there, it was like grind it out, and it was mostly like a couple songs a day if I could. Some are shorter than others,
Yeah. Well, so is the order that we're hearing the songs on the album, the order that these songs are written in? Was Eden Burning the first song you wrote, and American Violence was the last one you wrote, or?
It's kind of set up that way. There's not necessarily, because like I said, Devolved Into Humanity was the very first song, and that's track 3 on the record. And then there's a lot of the other songs that we wrote first are on the next on the next EP.
Mm-hmm.
So not particularly in order. American Violence and Illusions of Faith were the last songs written.
Okay.
For the whole set, though.
Mm-hmm.
Except for our brand new ones, so nobody's heard it.
So can we be expecting a release of this EP of songs that weren't released on this one?
Yeah, actually, we're hoping to get it out. I don't want to put a hard date on it, but maybe fall or early next year.
Mm-hmm. And the final question I wanted to ask you is coming from Oregon, I've interviewed so many bands from that state. Like I interviewed Toxic Holocaust. I've interviewed this new band, Idle Hands, that are phenomenal. Like, is there kind of like a scene in your area of Oregon? Like, are you near Portland in a way, or you said your guys are kind of spread out in a way, right?
Yeah, like Foes actually hasn't played Portland yet, but we've been trying to plan stuff out this year. It was obviously rough for everybody, so we had it on our list. It just didn't get to happen yet. but it's on our list. And I would say our scene is kind of like the Bend scene, which is it's on and off. It's pretty volatile because there's kind of a separation between the punks and that sort of stuff, and then the metalheads and their sort of thing. And we just try to like stay out of it, and we're actually trying to build up more of like an inclusive hardcore scene by not playing certain venues and then promoting like DIY venues and shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, can you tell me? I just interviewed John Campbell from Lamb of God, and like we had a long discussion on like the difference between punk, metal, and hardcore because they're all such aggressive forms of music. What is really the difference between them?
To me, it doesn't seem like much of a difference, but like some fans are so divided to just their genre of choice. We all listen to so much stuff; it blends together for me. Like listening to grind, it's so punky, but at the same time, it's like raw and it's like death metal to me. Everything is just like blended together, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed this discussion. Is there just anything else you would like to promote with Foes? I mean, obviously, thanks to a certain virus that shall not be named, shows are kind of on the back burner. But you said we could be expecting some new music in the fall, and just anything else you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, we've got some stuff planned for the fall if the world goes back to normal. So I'm not gonna say anything about it just because nobody knows.
Yeah.
But another EP will be on the horizon, and we've got some cool opportunities for next year for touring for Foes. So be expecting to see Foes up and down the West Coast.
Awesome, and please come to the East Coast. We want you here.
And we're getting a lot of good response from the East Coast and globally. Actually, it's all very cool, and just appreciate everything that's happened so far. It's been really cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Garrett. Everybody, we are here with Garrett of Foes. American Violence is out now, and new stuff coming very soon. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.